We want to see the smiles on seniors' faces and others who use our tools and realize that they saved a step or they were convenienced. And they feel more confident in doing business with JEA, and they just feel better about being a JEA customer.
Technology empowers these senior citizens to live lives outside of their homes. As their bodies get older, and Lord knows I've had some issues with my knees. I'm not a senior citizen yet, but I understand that mobility can be an issue. Transportation can be an issue. Even leaving the comfort of the areas that you surround can be an issue. Here's an opportunity for you to have the world at your fingertips.
So this is a critical role, I think, for all of our electric utilities being prepared for any emergency, whether it be hurricanes, which we're all very familiar with, or cold weather emergencies, which we are experiencing right now, or tornadoes, or even cyber emergencies. Getting all of our emergency managers together to talk about what they do with their utilities, to learn from each other, to share best practices, to have discussions on maybe some ideas that they haven't thought of.
I think emergency preparedness is part of building community, and within emergency management as a career and a function that happens all over the state of Florida, we share some of the same successes and some of the same challenges. So by bringing everyone here together for this roundtable, we're able to learn from each other.
Okay, I'd like to call this meeting to order. First, good to see everybody back for our first meeting in 2025. At this time, let's pause for a moment of reflection, please. Okay, thank you. And for introductions, I do have the pleasure of introducing one of our new board members, Arthur Adams. He's a Senior Vice President, Sales and Marketing from CSX. He's now joined our board. And Arthur, look forward to working with you. Thanks for coming aboard.
All right, thank you for having me.
Okay, at this time, I'd like to ask for a motion to adopt the agenda.
So moved.
Second. Second. Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. Okay, this time let's go for a safety briefing and values moment from Craig Galley.
My name is Craig Galley. I'm in my third year at JEA, and I'm currently a principal solutions architect in security and cloud. I'm the former chief information security officer of the city of Jacksonville, where I served over 17 years through 4 administrations. As a member of the information security team and technology services, I'm responsible for ensuring security objectives are met by emphasizing confidentiality, integrity, and availability, and that it remains paramount in assigned policies, projects, and compliance matters. And now I'd like to present the safety briefing for this meeting. For those of us participating downtown, in the event of an emergency, our JEA security will contact 911 and coordinate any required evacuation. If the emergency requires an evacuation, safely exit through one of the 2 marked exits. In this meeting area, you can either exit the building through the Pearl Street main entrance or the Monroe Street exit to the left of the American flag. We will assemble in front of the Duval County Courthouse, located at the northwest corner of Adams and Clay Street. If anyone needs medical assistance or help with safely evacuating, please notify a nearby JEA security officer. Please always be cognizant of the potential trip hazards in and around your respective areas. Lastly, please remember to keep your cell phones on silent and laptops on mute. Our values at JEA are safety, respect, and integrity, and I'd like to highlight safety for today's values moment through a personal story. I received a call from my mother-in-law, Linda, on a spring afternoon, sensing the unsettling tone in her voice as she proceeded to tell me, "I think I got hacked." As she walked through the timeline of events, it was very clear she fell prey to a social engineering attack. By the end of the conversation, I processed the facts. Microsoft called to fix her computer. David fixed the computer, and she gave David a $400 Google Play card. We thought that was the worst of the damage until I asked additional questions. In the end, David compromised her machine by talking her into entering a web page during the fix of her computer. David started a reverse shell and was able to hijack some logged in sessions she had with her credit union. Later, we discovered there was partial success in attempting to withdraw over $4,000 from her credit union account. What about the Google Play card, right? How did David get the card, I wondered? Well, David talked her into scratching the code off the back of the card and reading off the numbers on the back. Wanting to learn more about the social engineering aspect of this attack, I asked Linda, what was so compelling about this attacker? She tried many times to hang up, but David played on her heartstrings by saying, "I'm going to lose my job. Please don't hang up, Linda. If you do, your data will be gone forever. This fix should only take a few more minutes." In the end, the credit union assisted in the account recovery, but the Google Play card was a complete loss. So was her computer, which we completely wiped the hard drive and started over. Cyber threat actors are constantly looking for ways to exploit the human willingness to help others through trust, fear, or respect for authority. As JEA employees, we must remain vigilant to put the physical and emotional well-being of people first, both at and away from work, for our customers and family. Thank you.
Yeah, message well received. Thanks, Greg. I think we've all been there before. I know I have, unfortunately. Okay, thanks. Now we'll go for comments from the public. And first one I've got here is John Nooney. And again, reminder, 3 minutes.
All right. Can you see me? I'm over here in the corner. I don't know if I need to move up or what. But anyway, I am John J. Nooney, Jacksonville City Council Resolution 2023-0819. Active JSO trespass citation 2024-0571-349. Jacksonville University 2024-0107. I missed the ribbon cutting ceremony on that one. And so what I want to share with you, and also here's my River Accord pen, a partnership for the river, 2006. So why am I here? Well, I'm going to share this with you, and I was just told that none of you will see this. It only goes to a certain little group, and that's it. I don't think that's right. But anyway, this is the Florida Inland Navigation District. This is our ad valorem property tax money. And I just want to wish everybody, a happy new year and everything. And what I want to share with you, I've been going to them for decades, but this is the October 18th fines subcommittee. And at that meeting, Adam Hoyles, Mike Barker with Waterways directed Parks, Brian Burkett, look at Nooney's place. Well, they did. And just so you know, we're 2.5 acres, Category 1 wetlands next to a FEMA house on Pottsford Creek at the November meeting, okay? And part of FIND is waterway access, acquisition projects. We're on the list. So there is now, and that is, so just to go through, here's a quick going through this. Okay, you got the Council on Elder Affairs. Okay, that's a senior citizen gang. I'm on the agenda. If the city has control of the property, you immediately benefit 17 senior centers, throughout Duval County. Here's the Jacksonville Tree Commission. I was just there, January 15th. I have citrus trees. And let me just tell you this, right now, they've got 36 million in cash, 36 million bucks. You can plant a couple of, satsumas and, some grapefruits, Myers lemons with that. Okay, flip this over. And here, and just so you know, because we're on that list, it's only 3 months, it's brand new. And also too, let me just say, we're making a movie. And this is the Office of Economic Development, Ed Randolph. So I'm wearing my Nina Sickler shirt right now. And let me just tell you, you break down FEMA, you know what's going to happen? I mean, she's in the movie and, she's on Pottsford Creek. But anyway, so now, I went to the Board of County Commissioners, St. Johns County. Also, I went to the meeting with FIND. And let me just say this, FIND, that's 12 counties comprising the east coast of the state of Florida. So here, tourism, number one. And this is 12 counties, $16 billion.
Hey, John, got to wrap it up.
Okay, I know, ding, ding, ding. Okay, but anyway, when I went to the Northeast Florida Regional Council 2 years ago, it's right here. And again, that's 7 counties. Here, I just went to their meeting, January 9th. 2 years later, the support is unbelievable. And I'm just here, and I hope that JEA, building community, that you will just recognize, and I don't know what you need to do, but but just recognize public access to the waterways in Duval County. It's the worst ever, but you can change that immediately. So thank you for listening.
Okay, thanks, John. Okay, now let's go to City Council Liaisons comments. Mike Boylan, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Not a lot to offer this morning, except to say thank you to you for your leadership and to the board for its diligence. I think it's very important to have the kind of quality people we do, and I want to welcome Mr. Adams. We had a great conversation. As you know, it goes through the vetting process through the Rules Committee, and I had a chance to speak to him. Hang on to your hats. I think he's going to bring a lot to this board, so I appreciate that. So that's all I have to offer, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. Okay, now let me turn it over to Vicki Cavey for her comments.
Thank you, sir. Good morning and welcome, Arthur. First, I would love to tell you about Winter Storm Enzo. Last week, we experienced a freezing cold event, which we haven't had in a long time, and it was a big event. So it brought wintry conditions here, and JEA hit a record of 3,054 megawatts. Our all-time winter peak ever was 3,250 megawatts, and that was back in 2010. We were having some issues because one of our units, a 500 megawatt unit at Northside, was down due to a turbine blade crack that was discovered during routine maintenance. So we were already at a deficit with power. Our generation team and the SOC team worked diligently to provide the necessary megawatts to serve JEA's customers' demand, and not without challenges, of course. The team rose to the challenge, and I want to thank all of the employees who diligently worked to keep the units running, repaired failed components, kept the solid fuel supplied with pet coke and coal, and worked to schedule purchase power and natural gas and all the many, many tasks to keep JEA's customers supplied with electricity. Thank you to each of you for your dedicated service in meeting those challenges. Once again, you make your community and JEA proud. Thank you. And Ricky, I think you're the only guy here from Generation because they're all out there working. Is that right? Your team did a great job. You saw a video on FMEA, and I just want to let you know that we received an award for last year for our response to the 3 hurricanes, Debbie, Helene, and Milton. The award was given to those who responded quickly and restored their communities and also helped with mutual aid. So we were very honored to receive this for our transmission and distribution folks. You saw a video early on about this. On January 21st, we hosted the first of ever Florida Municipal Electric Association Preparedness Roundtable. 11 utilities participated, and it was held at Cologix, our emergency operations facilities. The roundtable gave us a forum for open discussion and collaboration, and overall it was a really, really successful endeavor. So we shared ideas and helped engage with other utilities on our planning and how we might work even better in the future. I'd like to thank and recognize Adam Pendley, from our Manager of Emergency Preparedness, Matthew Witta, Patrice McDaniel, and Gina Silvestri. Thank you so much. Next, we had a pretty nice event with Moody's. So I'm going to let Joe Arfano, our Deputy Chief Financial Officer, speak to that.
Thanks, Vicki. Morning, General DeSalvo and board members. As Vicki pointed out, we received an upgrade from Moody's on December 20th, just before the holidays. I would like to read a comment from Moody's press release because I think it's instructive to the board. They, quoting Moody's, the upgrade to AA1 of the water and sewer revenue bonds reflects strong management, which has produced very strong debt service coverage metrics and a declining outstanding debt burden while investing significantly in pay-go capital over the last 5 years. I think that's really says it all. And it's a testament to this board and the management team that has been put together by Vicki that the rating agencies are taking notice. DES, District Energy, we're launching next week. They were upgraded as well to a notch below AA2, but we're very happy. We're striving for AAA. Obviously, we had AAA ratings from S&P back several years ago, but we believe our systems warrant AAA. But we'll take this.
Thank you, Joe, very much, and to your entire team. Next, we also, in the past couple of weeks, went and did a $533 million water and wastewater bond transaction in New York. And I would like for AJ, who was there and led that effort, our manager of debt and capital markets, to speak to that.
Thanks, Vicki. Appreciate it. Morning, Mr. Chair, members of the board. My name is AJ Soto. I'm the debt manager here at JEA. I'm pleased to let you know that our water sewer bond transaction that priced on January 14th was successful, given a very choppy market of late. It was a busy day from a new issue perspective. There were $5 billion worth of transactions pricing across 50 different transactions.
Wow.
JEA sold approximately $533 million of bonds, and we were about 1.7 times oversubscribed, having received orders from 55 different investor accounts. A lot of them are repeat names that we've seen invest in JEA debt before, which is always encouraging. The transaction continued our efforts to de-risk and simplify JEA's debt portfolio. It converted about $77 million of current outstanding variable rate debt to fixed, and it terminated the last remaining swap in our debt portfolio. So we are officially out of the swaps business, and we get to enjoy what our CFO lovingly coins as a plain vanilla debt portfolio for a minute. I just want to say that despite entering a volatile market, we had a very qualified team leading the transaction, Bank of America, and our financial advisors, PFM. I'm very proud of the efforts of my team, namely Lori Boynton, Shannon Tremaine, and Joel Ruiz, who work on the debt squad with me. There are countless other individuals here at JEA that contribute towards these efforts, and I'll be following this up with an email to our CEO listing their names, because it's not just us on the debt squad that executes these transactions. It's everybody across JEA. It's our folks out in the field. It's our folks here at HQ. And really, they make these transactions a lot easier. They really do. And just one more note to Joe's point. We have investors and rating agencies that watch these board meetings. They are often just as well versed in the goings on at JEA as we are. They see what the board does. They see the good relationship that the board has with our beloved CEO, as she is lovingly referred to by some of our financial partners. That stuff matters. That's the stuff that Joe and I point to when we meet one-on-one with investors and convince them why JEA is a worthy investment. So keep doing what you're doing. You know, our staff is doing what they need to be doing. And I'm just very pleased to be able to report the success of the deal here to you today. Thank you very much.
Thank you, AJ. Next, I have a wonderful announcement. Charles, where are you? Dr. Charles Moreland. Dr. Charles Moreland has joined JEA as our Chief Customer Experience Officer. This gentleman is a lifelong learner. He's got 30-plus years in public service. He's an ex-fire chief here in Jacksonville. He was the director of community and international affairs for the city, deputy chief administrative officer. He's an adjunct professor for the Master in Public Policy Institute at JEA, Bachelor in Business Administration, Bachelor in Emergency Management, Master's in Public Administration, a doctorate in education, and a 2008 alumni of Leadership Jacksonville. And the best thing about Charles Moreland is he brings a smile to this place and a work ethic that I think that we're all gonna I don't know if we can match you, Charles. He has hit the ground running. So I just want to congratulate Charles and introduce him to everyone and to the board. And where is Rob Zamatera? Stand up, Rob. Rob is the Chief of Water Systems, Chief Officer of Water Systems. He's had 8 years of service here at JEA, 27 plus years in public service. He is the manager. He was a manager of water and wastewater system planning, a bureau chief at St. Johns River Water Management, a chief engineer at the St. Johns County Utility Department, director of utilities for Green Coast Springs, and he holds a Bachelor of Science degree in environmental engineering from the University of Florida. Rob brings an extreme depth of knowledge on Senate Bill 64. He's our guy for that. He has worked with acquiring our CUP, our consumptive use permits, and any changes to that, and works with our development community with the Northeast Florida builders. So anyway, welcome, Rob. Thank you for stepping up to the challenge, and that's the end of my remarks, and thank you for the time, sir.
Thank you, Vicki. Okay, let's go into the JEA performance update, and we'll start with the corporate scorecard, with Julie Crawford.
Good morning. I'm here to present the results of the corporate scorecard with data as of December 31st. Starting with Unbeatable Team, there are no updates for the employee engagement metric, but there have been 0 lost time incidents to date, which I feel like is quite the accomplishment. We have updates to our customer satisfaction results as well. Our score for the first wave of the fiscal year 25 residential study ranks us 70th out of 142 utilities, or second quartile, meeting our corporate goal. While that represents a decline of 26 points from our final score in 24, the industry similarly saw significant declines. A very strong performance in the communication index ensured we maintained our second quartile ranking in overall customer satisfaction. JEA's raw score for the business metric improved 5 points since fiscal year 24, but this improvement was eclipsed by an industry-wide improvement of 34 points over the same time period, and this shifted our ranking downward to third quartile as a result. Efforts are underway to adopt and refine industry best-in-class practices to achieve the customer satisfaction goal for the fiscal year. Our residential bill continues to be the lowest combined electric, water, and sewer bill in the Florida benchmark, and it also ranks the lowest as a percent of median household income. Moving to business excellence, our total spend is under budget by 10% year to date. O&M is under by 2%, and our fuel and purchase power expense is over budget by 9%, and this is driven by 2 main factors. First is colder than expected winter weather, which drove more expensive natural gas future prices with higher than expected sales. Secondly, the Northside 3 outage, which Vicki mentioned in her comments, it created the need for power call options and FRCC reserve power, and the extension of the outage added about $1 million in fuel switching costs. Our CapEx spend is under budget by 24%. This is mainly due to shifting cash flows in construction and invoicing delays. Moving over to the right, operational metrics are seen on the right-hand side. The SAIDI metric is over target by 15%, and this is mainly due to the May weather event that we've mentioned in previous meetings, but it is trending downward month over month. Our clean energy is underperforming target by a couple percentage points, but we anticipate it will achieve the 16% over the course of the year. Water reliability is over target by 1%, and that's due to a water main break in Nocatee in December. And our sewer reliability is achieving target. And lastly, our technology availability reports 0 essential system outages year to date. And that completes my review. Any questions for me?
I lost the buzz on it. When does the, at Northside, that turbine fan, when does that get replaced? Is that April?
Ricky may know the exact date. It was a turbine blade that was discovered during a routine maintenance outage. Ricky?
So, we found a turbine blade that's cracked, that operated with it. The current schedule is May, have it completed and back in service.
Thanks, Ricky. Okay, any other questions?
I mean, one question, Julie, is with the extreme weather we've had this month, what do we think the increased fuel costs would be, and when do we pass that on to customers?
So for this month, for January, we'll calculate, we've already calculated the fuel rate for February, I believe. So that might trickle into March, but we pass on the fuel cost as quickly as we can. And there is a limit on how much of that increase can happen month over month to not impact customers too greatly. But we try to collect that cost as soon as possible.
Okay, financial update with Joe, please.
Thank you again, General. Starting with the electric system, base revenue is up slightly over budget, about 1%. The other revenue increase is driven by fuel revenue being $6 million over budget, as well as investment income being $1 million over budget as well. On the expense side, O&M is slightly over budget. The main driver is salaries expense. We currently have over $5 million in overtime, but a majority of that is related to storm overtime that we should be capitalizing and removing from O&M. So that'll bring O&M back in line. Other expenditures are lower than budget, primarily as a result of lower than budgeted payments on the city contribution. We continue to negotiate with the mayor's administration on a new contribution agreement. But so right now, we're only expensing the 1% increase over fiscal year 24. On the fuel side, we talked about this during the Finance, Governance, and Audit Committee meeting. Our generated power is down $2.66, or about 8% over the first quarter of last year. Purchase power, however, has increased over $21, or about 27% over the prior year. And our financial reporting people are now going to be splitting out Vogtle, because much of this increase is related to Unit 4 coming online for the MEAG PPA with Vogtle. So our fixed cost per month at Vogtle has increased from about 12 million and change to 19 million per month. So that's that's largely driving the increase in purchase power. Julie talked about the need to also enter into short-term purchases with the Energy Authority. That caused, Bobby, to your question, purchase power cost to increase significantly. So we will have to recoup this fuel and purchase power costs from our customers. So looking at the electric system, Julie talked about O&M spending. It's about $7 million over the prior year. The main driver, of course, is salaries that I talked about earlier. We would expect that to reverse when the overtime expense is capitalized. The capital forecast is projected to be right in line with budget. And looking at the bottom right, restricted cash is low. In fact, it's close to zero. And that reflects a negative capital balance of approximately $55 million. We got council's approval to do the budget adjustment for fiscal year 24, which is going to move 61 million into operating capital outlays, and that'll reverse this negative balance in the capital account. So it's a little misleading, and timing plays into it, but that'll be reversed with the January financials. On the water side, Water revenues down about 2%. That's in line with year-to-date volume being 2% lower than budgeted amounts. We did have that heavy rain in October that drove down revenues, particularly unit sales. The bright significant capacity fees up $5 million, further sign of continued growth in the system. We're ahead of budget, and we would hope that to continue into the rest of the fiscal year. On the expense side, year-to-date O&M is 4% higher than fiscal year 24 actuals for the same time frame, but is 1.6% over budget. There will be a budget adjustment related to budget amendments that were approved by council a couple of weeks ago as well. So that'll bring January actually slightly below the O&M budget by about 1.2 million.
Well, these other expenses, just a suggestion is breaking that down a little bit. I know you don't want to confuse.
Will do.
Yeah.
Will do.
But those are big numbers, not understanding where they are.
Okay. It's good suggestion, Bobby. We will do that. Capital is $5 million over budget, which is driven by the capacity extension fee expense being $5 million higher, which I talked about just a minute ago. Other expenditures are $4 million under budget, driven by about $3 million lower year-to-date debt expense. And that's basically due to the timing of the new money issuance that we just, we'll be closing this week. But that's forecasted to increase as that new money, as we see the interest expense increase because of the new money issuance. And again, the lower city contribution expense plays into this as well. Because again, we budgeted based on an increase in the contribution this year. We still don't have an agreement with the mayor's administration. At the time we do reach agreement, we will do a retroactive adjustment, which will bring the contribution in line with what we budgeted for the year. I think I got ahead of myself there. Sorry about that. On the O&M spend,
Excuse me. For the city contribution, I lost a buzz on it. When is this normally settled? Are we sort of running behind schedule on that, or what's up with that?
We're definitely behind.
Okay.
The agreement ran through September of 2023. And the charter stipulated that if the parties failed to reach an agreement, the contribution would continue at the current methodology, which includes a minimum 1% escalation, which is where we were in fiscal year 24 and what we're expensing year to date through December. The O&M spend is forecasted to be at $263 million, which is right in line with the annual budget. The capital spend is $92 million year to date. Julie talked about that. The total spends projected by our capital budget planning group to be just slightly above $500 million, which is against a budget of $567. I think we'll end up closer to the $567, frankly. Julie's nodding as well. But we'll see how that plays out. But I think the spending tends to be slow during the first quarter of the year and then picks up as weather starts to get better and construction picks up.
Joe, what percentage of that is Buckman? Is that a big?
I think Buckman's a pretty significant part of that spend. Is it? Yeah. Cash balances, one thing that S&P pointed out during their review prior to submitting their ratings affirmation, and to be transparent about this, S&P also gave us a negative outlook on the rating, which AJ and I were not happy with. They commented on our liquidity position we think we've got some time to perhaps split out the revolver. Right now, the revolver is for both systems and it's kind of commingled. We can separate the revolver into a electric and a water, wastewater, and DES to make it more transparent as to the borrowings against each facility. It's a pretty easy fix. It's just more administrative cost for us, but I think we can address this. In my past, utilities that had a significant capital program like water, wastewater, just didn't carry a lot of cash. And we weren't going to go out and with this new money issuance and set aside an extra 50 million just to be sitting around in our bank account. So we challenged S&P. We were unsuccessful getting them to remove that negative outlook, but it's something AJ and I are working, and Ted are working on.
How much is out on the revolver now?
We just we're about to repay water. Water has a borrowing at 170, and DES has borrowed 27 million. I'm looking at the debt squad. They would chastise me if I got those numbers wrong.
And how about electric?
Electric, I think we just received 50 million. We haven't borrowed new money in electric for a long time. So 50 million is outstanding. Electric's authorized to borrow 147 from council this year. We think we're going to be in the high 90s because of that. The surplus that we ran in fiscal year 24 that we're able to contribute to capital funds to reduce the borrowing for this year. So right. Electric's in pretty good shape.
Thank you.
My favorite page, there is one red triangle here, which we're not happy about, but on fixed charge, this is kind of a lagging indicator because summer times are heavy unit sales period of time, beginning really in springtime. Vogel's fixed charges, as I mentioned, are pretty much locked in monthly at 19 million per month. So we would intend to see the fixed charge coverage ratio increase toward our pricing policy objective of 1.6 times as we get into the hotter months of the summer. So it's really the denominator is not changing much, but hopefully we'll have the revenues to bring this back in line. All the other metrics are quite strong. You'll be happy to see the investment yield is almost 30 basis points above the target. So we cautioned that was a lagging indicator as well, and I'm happy to say that that's turned out to be true. So that's all I have on the financial update.
Okay, any questions at all?
Not a question, but I just don't want us to gloss over your initial report and just want to say congratulations and acknowledge on behalf of the board of directors the wonderful work that the finance team has done, the Moody's upgrade, de-risking the portfolios. I know that wasn't a simple undertaking, and I just want to acknowledge that and say thank you. Great work, team.
Thanks, Ms. Hubbard. Appreciate it.
Great. Okay, thanks, Joe. Okay, next is the consent agenda. Looking for a motion. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you. Passed. Okay, next we'll get a report from the Finance, Governance, and Audit Committee. Bobby.
$2025. Is that better? Yeah. The agenda items was the fiscal year 2024 E&Y audit results, quarterly financial review, St. Johns River Power Park surplus declaration, economic development program riders, electric, water, sewer, call for rate hearing, supplemental district energy, delegation of authority resolution, debt authorization, and storm stock analysis review. Thank you, Joe DeSalvo and Vice Chair Rick Morales, for attending. We did this on a Zoom call because of weather, and our hearts, prayers go out to your father-in-law who passed, and to Donna and the family. So we understand why you couldn't make it, but I think everybody wants to make sure that prayers are out to your family. There were 7 items that came before the committee, 3 of which we will ask the board to take action on today. The October 2024 Finance Governance Audit Committee minutes action. We'll need action, Joe, because we didn't have a quorum present. Yes.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, thank you.
St. Johns River Power Park surplus declaration, we need actions. Materials can be located in Appendix D. In November 2023, the JEA board declared 1,200 acres of the former St. Johns River Power Park as surplus to the needs of JEA in Resolution 2023-55. The action included designated parcels 16, 17, 18, and 19 as long-term strategic sites under the rules and procedures of our prior real estate directive. Over the last several months, JEA has evaluated the former SJRPP site considering current and potential future operational needs and recommends that parcels 18 and 19 be reserved for future use. And however, parcels 16 and 17 remain surplus to the JEA needs. In addition, JEA has determined the parcels 3, 5, and 6 are also surplus to the needs of JEA. In summary, we are requesting parcels 18 and 19 remain with JEA for future operational needs, while parcels 3, 5, 6, 16, and 17 are declared surplus and offered to the market. Staff continues to evaluate the remaining SGRPP lands for future uses, including electric generation, wetland mitigation, other potential opportunities. Look forward to updating the board at future meetings. Requested action, staff recommends that the board rescind Resolution 2023-55 and amend and improve Resolutions 2025-03. I'll just make one mention as we're looking at keeping those parcels for a water plant, which with the rest of the integrated system is probably the best location, but the real estate group is evaluating. Look for action.
Move approval.
Any discussion? Second. Okay, I'm sorry. Any discussion?
One motion to rescind, the other one is.
Yeah, right. Yeah. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you.
Supplemental District Energy System Delegation of Authority Resolution Debt Authorization. JEA Board delegates authority to issue debt to the Managing Director, CEO, to take advantage of market timing of any bond issuance. The annual approval of the delegation of authority process is combined with approval of the JEA budget and provides the Managing Director, CEO, with authority to refund existing debt and issue debt as approved by the JEA Board in the budget. For fiscal year 2025, District Energy System Delegation Authority was approved by the board in June 2024 under Resolution 2024-25. This resolution not include 2 components that are necessary for taxable debt issuance of this system. Clear establishing the backdrop from the water and sewer system, the district energy system, make whole call provision that is typically included when issuing taxable debt. Requested action, staff recommends the board approve the proposed supplemental delegation of authority under Resolution 2025-02 This supplemental resolution will repeal and supersede the previous fiscal year 25 District Energy System Delegation of Authority resolution. The delegation authority summary exhibit remains unchanged from the exhibit presented in Resolution 2024-25. Staff is not recommending any changes to authorized amounts shown in the exhibit. Request a motion, Joe.
Could I have a motion? Thank you. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Thank you.
Electric, water, and sewer call for a rate hearing. Since August 2024, staff has been reviewing the recommended rate and structure changes for fiscal year 2025 and fiscal year 2026 to better align revenues to specific customer class cost recoveries. At the October 29th board workshop on rates, board members received a thorough review of the rate and rate structure recommendations. For fiscal year 2025, the mid-year recommendations be effective on April 1st, 2025 to close the revenue gap for the fiscal year 25 board approved budget. For fiscal 26, the full year of rate recommendations be effective October 1, 2025 is to be recovering additional costs and reposition the rate hearing to occur after the fiscal 2027 budget is presented in spring of 2026 with an effective date of October 1, 2026. Staff is requesting the board call for a public rate hearing to occur at the February 2025 board meeting. At the time, the board will receive comments from the public. At the March 2025 board meeting, staff will request the board to take action on the recommended rate and structural changes. While this item's not so we need action on this.
Yeah, and I think what we'll do, Bobby, is I believe Ted and Victor are going to be talking this in a second.
What's that?
Ted and Victor were going to be talking this rate hearing, go into a little
Okay.
bit more details, and then we'll action it then.
So then the audit results, John DeSanto, Managing Director, reviewed the fiscal year 2024 EY audit results. John covered new and upcoming accounting and financial reporting standards, areas of emphasis for the audit, and current milestones such as JEA bond issues for water and sewer and district energy system. EY reported no findings. Commend internal audit staff for providing EY with 461 work hours in fiscal year 2024. And then the last was the storm stock analysis. JEA concerns a storm stock valued at approximately $7.3 million. This value fluctuates based on stocking levels and system average pricing. To improve the efficiency and responsiveness, inventory planning has transitioned from manual process to a data-driven approach for managing storm stock. This shift will allow for more real-time adjustments to stocking levels, ensuring inventory is aligned with current needs. As part of this preliminary effort, staff is reducing inventory value by estimating $500,000 while maintaining sufficient replenishment stock to support a category one storm event. This demonstrates how JEA leverages real data to make informed decisions, ensuring we are prepared for storm events while optimizing costs. I'll have a reach out to Ted and his team for analyzing, working to right size this. And it's something that we've moved inventory around to adjust. And now we're getting the focus on what we're going to do and how we're going to do it in a category one storm and what we need and what we don't need. So I commend Ted, your staff, and your people for moving this forward and working towards a data informed effort. So that's the finalizing of my report.
Great. Thanks, Bobby.
Mr. Chairman, can I ask a question?
Sure, absolutely.
Why category one? That seems light. Everybody else gets 3 and 4 hurricanes anymore.
Good question, John, but I think
Yes, sir. That's a very good question. And so as we looked at the analytics of how much stock we have used over the past 15 years with all the various different storms, and then, layering in the growth of our system. And so, and then the cost of those additional storms. So I don't have the information right here in front of me, but I think our storm stock goes from, if a category 1, it's around $7 million. If it was a category 3, it was about $200 million or $100 million. So we're trying to weigh all of those things. And we didn't even look at a category 5, because if it's a category 5, it's basically a catastrophe to your system, and you're going to have to build up everything back from scratch. And the idea of trying to have all of that on hand and storing it for a, once in hopefully not even a lifetime event, it just doesn't make financial sense. So that's why we landed on the category 1. But I can get you a copy of that report, and you can review it.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
I was going to add one thing for your benefit. That additional stock is in addition to what we already have in the storeroom available. And then mutual aid would kick in and everything. We asked the same question and had the same exact discussion. But when you look at the history in the past and how others recover and what we think we need to stock, we landed on that category 1.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Bobby. And this committee meeting, I mean, there was a lot of stuff on it, obviously. And so, and it was a long meeting, necessarily long. So a lot of details were briefed to us and all that. So we covered it here in like 15 minutes, but just for the other folks, for these committee meetings, again, nothing's glossed over. We do pretty good diligence on that. And especially for this one, Bobby, thank you for your lead chairing this committee. Okay, next, Rob Zamantaro will do the surface water discharge elimination response to Senate Bill 64.
Good morning. Good morning, thank you. I'd like to provide this topic for information only, so feel free to ask questions at any time. We're going to recap the plan, the Senate Bill 64 and the surface water discharge elimination. And we'll also go into some of the program details and then some of the upcoming changes we have on the horizon. The governor signed the bill of Senate Bill 64 back in June of 2021, and that kind of kicked off a planning period. The planning period took about a year and a half. We really started enacting some of the projects we're in November of 2022. So there was a planning period where we had to go through the approval. The last time this was presented to the board was right in November of 22. I'm sorry, November of 21. So Senate Bill 64, for those that are not familiar with it, was a Senate bill that was introduced to eliminate all river discharge. The idea or the concept was to pull the effluent from our wastewater facilities out of the river and use it for beneficial use, or just pretty much to benefit to the river, and also to help offset potable water and use it for some other ecological benefit. So the original plan was estimated to have a $2 billion impact on JEA. So this was not a small exercise by any means, and was pretty profound on our long-term capital plan. The original plan that we submitted to FDEP that was approved had 3 major categories. Reclaimed water, which we kind of already had a reclaimed water program. It started in 2004. A purified water program, which we began in 2014. And the new part that really wasn't in our capital portfolio yet was deep well disposal. So we'll kind of go into details about how each one of those programs impacted and the components of those. A quick note on the deep well disposal. It really wasn't an ideal solution. We've had a lot of discussions internally, but we did need a path forward to compliance with Senate Bill 64. So The facilities that we recommended those deep wells for were places where the other two programs were not financially feasible. So we kind of had a back against the corner, and we were put in a situation where we had to come up with a solution required by legislation. Some of the proposed changes that are coming that we've been working on with our local agencies and other utilities in the region is a regional wetland. So we did take some of the wells, like say the 15 wells at Buckman, and we want to move those over to a regional project. And we also are looking at using Southwest, which was originally slated to be a purification facility, move that into the regional wetland project as well. So the regional wetlands, which I'll talk about at the very end, is kind of a proposed project that we're considering. We've been working with FDEP, Water Management District, and all the other local utilities to kind of come up with more of a regional solution in place of doing the wells. The first program, the Reclaim Water Program, as I mentioned, it was established in around 2004. It is a way to offset direct consumptive use by supplying public access reclaimed water for irrigation at homes. A lot of people call it purple pipe or things like that you might be familiar with. We currently have 40 projects in our capital improvement plan, totaling for about $750 million over the 10-year horizon. And we pumped about 18 million gallons. The original Senate Bill 64 goal had a goal of 28 MGD. And the important thing to note on this is even though we are right on track in the last 3 or 4 years have been growing as anticipated, we are dependent on growth. So luckily, as Joe pointed out earlier, based on capacity fees, we are seeing that growth. We are seeing a sustained growth in the region. So we're optimistic that this program will get to where it needs to be. But if for whatever reason growth dies off, we might not meet that Senate Bill 64. So that's something that's kind of outside our control. But this program is still kind of moving right along as anticipated. The H2O purification program is something we started in 2014. This was first introduced to the board in 2016. So even though the program did exist prior to Senate Bill 64, Senate Bill 64 made us expand the scope of it. So we did increase the cost from about $500 million to closer to $1 billion of the program was expanded. So it did have Senate Bill 64, even though this was an existing program, did have a financial impact on us. We completed the piloting in 2019, so that was more of a test of technology. We're currently under construction on our demonstration facility. It's located off Southside Boulevard. The main goal of the demonstration facility initially will be to optimize performance of the membranes, work with staff for training, and a public education center. So it's much more than just a treatment facility. So please keep that in mind. And the anticipated completion date is in next fiscal year, 25-26. As far as the phase 3, the full implementation, these were the original 4 facilities: the Purification Center, which is a demonstration facility under construction, Arlington, and Cedar Bay. Southwest was originally, that was one of the facilities that we're discussing moving from a purification program over to that regional wetland project. So that's one of those projects. So you can see that would have a $400 million impact on our long-term budget. And this right now is the current proposed schedule. The first one, being completed here shortly. The exploratory well at Arlington East is currently under construction, so that is moving forward. And we're going to tackle the Arlington East design coming up in 26-27. So we'll start design. These are set up in consecutive order. So the challenge is still for us, the resources locally, both for contractors and for staffing. Both of these facilities are going to look at anywhere between 15 and 25 people, depending on FDEP requirements. So it's not like we can just go out and snatch up 30, 40 new employees. And these are membrane facilities. So it's a kind of a technology that we're not currently using. So the training of having that demonstration center to actually train new employees and some of our existing employees is imperative for us to, continue this program in the future. So right now they are set up consecutively just because of the resources. The deep well disposal, if back on the original slide, we had 26 wells in total. We were going to eliminate 15 of them, hopefully, by moving Buckman out to this regional. So Buckman and Southwest were the two facilities that we're looking at doing a regional project with. The two facilities that are still dependent as a primary disposal would be Monterey and Ponte Vedra. These are set up at the kind of the tail end of the program intentionally. We are working with Tallahassee to try and change how the regulatory views JEA. Unfortunately, we are not one wastewater treatment plant. We have 11 facilities, and each one of those facilities are being judged on their own merit. If we can look at JEA as holistically and as a total, it would be our benefit and for our customers' benefit to take that investment and invest it elsewhere in the system. And not, you can see the Monterey is a 2.5, so it's about 2 to 3% of our effluent, and the Ponte Vedra would only be 0.3. So we're spending a significant investment. It's over $100 million for two facilities that really don't have an environmental impact or a drinking water impact. It's just compliance with the Senate Bill 64. So this continues to be a struggle, but we're still working with our local regulatory agencies in Tallahassee to hopefully make improvements. So this investment can be moved to those other projects. So this is the proposed change. There is a concept project that's out there. Over the past year, JEA has participated with an interagency work group. We call it the North Florida Regional Partnership. It includes, you can see all the logos. There are 3 or 4 utilities there: the Suwannee Water Management District, St. John's Water Management District, and FDEP. And we came together because not only Senate Bill 64, but you'll hear things like minimum flows and levels and the Springs Initiative. So you'll hear stuff like that in the news. Out in the Suwannee area, there are springs and MFLs on water bodies, minimum flows and levels set by DEP, that they're looking to solve as well. So we're looking to partner with these agencies. It is a matter of now moving these projects out of the Senate Bill 64 legislation, and it's kind of oversimplified, but over into the Springs Initiative. It'd have a greater environmental impact, and it would also provide us funding partners. That's, for us, that's the biggest thing, is we're not just going this alone. It would be more of a regional solution. So the two facilities in consideration are Buckman and Southwest. A quick overview of the project. You can see the blue triangles on the right where the two facilities are located. We would then move the water all the way out west, closer to where the natural recharge area is, and there would be a wetland involved. Right now, we're discussing siting a wetland somewhere in the middle. There's certain benefits to that. There is discussion about moving that wetlands all the way out west. That's still kind of in development. The biggest benefit to this is you put the water back to where it naturally recharges. Right now, the recharge area for our potable supply is the central part of the state. So we have here in Duval a very thick confining layer. So if we put the water on the ground, it doesn't actually reach our potable supply. So moving it out west is essential for not only helping the Florida water bodies, but it's also essential for helping our water supply. So it's kind of a 2-for-1. So some of the benefits are protecting Florida water resources such as Ichetuckney Springs and Santa Fe, securing future potable water supplies for JEA customers with a long-term consumptive use permit, compliance with Senate Bill 64. Also, constructed wetlands could create opportunities for ecotourism. There is a place like in Gainesville called Sweetwater Branch. So I don't know if anybody's been in Gainesville has seen that, or the 4G Ranch in Pasco County. So this is not a new concept. Lake Apopka also has a very large bird watching and ecotourism around their created wetlands. So it tends to be a good economic draw. And for us, the bringing together regional stakeholders and funding partners would be very significant. Instead of putting the cost entirely by us, it would be distributed throughout all the partners. So we did kick off. There is currently a project at Buckman to do some wetlands analysis, and we are looking at new things such as PFAS additives and also adding combinations of advanced treatment with ozone. The most important thing for us is that this is a partnership. DEP has come forth with a $1 million grant for innovative technology on the PFAS evaluation. The Water Management District has contributed $3 million. So for us, this is not just a matter of us doing the technology, but building the partnerships with our local agencies to hopefully come up with a better solution than the deep disposal wells that we had in the original plan. So I know that was a lot of information in a very short time. So if there's any questions, please feel free to
Rob,
Yes.
I give you a lot of credit for working with Senate Bill 64, but, looking at that building H2O, that's a fancy ass building. Is there some value engineering opportunities on what we're spending and how we're spending them?
So on that particular project, it's kind of pretty much we're opening in the year, so the value
Yeah.
engineering window is passed. The concept of that, though, is for optimization of the process. That is a 1 MGD facility. The other two facilities are around 5 to 6 MGD. So the whole point of having that is built into that building is optimization. So we are going to be doing value engineering. If you looked on the schedule, there was about a 1 to 2 year gap before when we finish that building to when we actually start the full scale facilities. That 1 to 2 year gap is just for that reason, to really do optimization on the process, make sure we can dial it in and value engineer the larger projects. So
But like Cedar Bay's $300 million.
Yes, sir.
That seems like, and it's way out, but it's a lot of money.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yep. No, and we will be value engineering the other facilities significantly.
I saw the planning period they gave us. What is the drop dead date to comply?
So the drop dead date is January 1st of 2032. The schedule that you saw extended past that date. That is not the schedule that's approved. That is the proposed schedule. And that is why we are proposing it, because that is a realistic schedule based on resources and financial impacts. So we will be working with FDEP. We are going to be going and having those conversations. What you saw was a conservative plan. If we had to dial those up, we could. We are looking that the schedule that you saw was based on design, bid, build. We can do alternative delivery methods to tighten those up. So that determination of how we're going to deliver those projects and the methodology that we're going to actually use will be determined over the next 12 months as we meet with FDEP to see what we can do for the schedule. So the drop deadline though is January 1st, 2032.
Robin, a similar question. So what are the implications for non-compliance with SB 64?
So good question. That is going to be part of the discussion typically, and so I can't foresee the future, but traditionally we use case studies. So we look back at what other utilities have done. We've looked at our own, times we've went and worked with DEP. Typically, if you're forthcoming and you're working with the agencies all the way along, it's a minimal impact financially. Usually it's in-kind penalties. So that is why we will be going to FDEP up front, is to minimize that impact and kind of work through that. If you look at a case study as Miami-Dade, they had about a $1.6 billion, they had outfalls they had to get rid of the ocean in 2008, and they're still working on it, but that was in 2008. So that was their consent order. Only had approximately $2 million of fees, but it was a $1.6 billion program. So, depending on what the effort of the utility greatly impacts those risk or those penalties. So, yeah, we will make that. And like I said, we still have that ability to dial it up. The goal is to plan realistically, and then if we have to dial it up, we can. You would put extra stress on contracting staff, financial resources. So the idea is to kind of have those discussions early, minimize risk.
Well, since we're not the Lone Rangers, do you have any idea of what the other utilities that are facing this stuff, the same issues?
Yes. So and it's a myriad of solutions. They're all over the place because every utility is different based on geographic location. So like our solutions and Tampa Bay solutions are completely different due to the natural resources and the things available to us. So one of the things that hurts us is that we have 11 facilities. We don't have one big facility, where Tampa has a single large facility. When you look at the breakdown across the state, we are the largest surface water discharge in the state. The larger ones, such as Miami-Dade, are considered ocean outfall. They're not a surface water. It's a slightly different category. So we make up 25% of the state outfall. So when we look around, deep wells are used very commonly. Orlando and to the south, they're relatively new in this region of the state. So we are doing it cautiously and things like that. Other communities, smaller communities, don't have a solution. So the smaller communities, we've had several come to us and ask us if there was something we could do to help them. So we are working with some of the smaller utilities in our area. So it is a problem for depending on where you are. But really, there's only a couple of solutions that you see, and that is either you have to put it in the ground or put it in the river. So if you're can't put it in the river, it has to go some type of on the ground, whether that's residential reuse, purified reuse, or a regional wetland. So if you notice, that is the one common theme to all our programs is the water goes in the ground. So it just different places require different treatment. So there's not that many options left.
Mr. Chairman, you've done a great job of explaining this, but I just want to underline how important this whole thing is. It is, in my view, a huge boondoggle camouflaged with the idea that we're trying to have clean water go into the river. Pumping that much water at that expense down into the deep aquifer, you mentioned that it's being done, but it isn't being done much. And nobody is really sure whether that's a good idea or a bad idea, but everybody's sure it's an expensive idea. And the idea of pumping it out and doing something that is useful with that water to the springs is a home run. And we need to make sure that our legislatures know how important this is to this city, that it be done in a way that helps the environment instead of just spends money.
Mr. Chairman, I'll echo that. And I'll also say that working with our legislatures, I understand you are making headway, but to separate every one of our locations, they're looked at differently versus as a total unit makes no sense at all. I mean, to be required to spend money on locations that make no sense. But I think John makes an excellent point that we've got to stop it any way we can to do untried opportunities that the state's pushing us for. And I think they're working with us on that. But I think we should be very cautious in that effort.
Absolutely. And I think it isn't, unless I'm misspeaking, so far we're getting positive signals from FDEP,
Yes.
from what I understand. And
Yes.
again, a long way to go. It's not we're not in the end zone yet, but
So just as that regional partnership, we originally had just Buckman on the list. The Water Management District, St. Johns River, came to us and said, hey, would you be interested in, including Southwest? And so we looked at it. And so it's been a very good partnership. My point is that they actually came to us and we agreed, and we were going in. What's important for us is the driver for those projects to send the water out west would be a different Springs initiative in MFL. So it's very important for us to get the legislation passed that moves us out of the Senate Bill 64 category into like the Springs initiative or the MFL initiative. What that would do is change our timeline, and time is money. And it would also give us the benefit of having partners, funding partners. So having that legislation is imperative for us.
I wanted to commend the FDEP Secretary, Alexis Lambert. She took time to meet with myself and Rob and Jody Brooks and Kurt Wilson and someone that's working with us to hopefully get the legislation modified. This is a win-win, like you said, Mr. Baker. So this is a win-win-win all the way around for Northeast Florida, for JEA, and for all the partners, and really everyone. So I can't commend them enough. We were supposed to meet with them again this week. We'll be meeting with them next week and pulling in some of the legislatures as well, some of the legislative bodies as well. So we are making great headway. What this project will also do is give us a longer glide path to meet the Senate Bill 64 requirements. At least that's what we're asking for, and some accommodation, because it is beneficial to so many to everyone in Northeast Florida. So I commend Rob and really the whole team. They've been working really hard on this since this bill got passed.
I remember I think it was my very first board meetings when it got introduced to 764, Senate Bill 64, and I'm just amazed that we're making some headway with it because we've been talking about it for so long, but trying to find a solution out west for the service discharge really makes more economic and environmental sense than anything. You know, I echo John's comment about injecting this into down. Like, nobody really knows where this is going or where it's going to be. So it just scares me. And I'm glad that I've been following this pretty closely. And I want to commend the staff for what they're doing because they're looking for a solution to not only better for the environment and also better for our ratepayers. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Rob.
Thank you.
Okay, next, Ted Phillips and Victor Blackshear for electric, water, and sewer call for rate hearing.
Good morning. Thank you, General DeSalvo. So we'll hopefully be brief on this. Thank you, Mr. Stein, for setting this up for us. So just a brief look back on the history. So back in August, we met with the Finance, Governance, and Audit Committee to review the water and wastewater cost of service update. And then you'll remember on October 29th, we did a board workshop where we spoke about rate adjustments and rate structure changes to both the water and electric systems. So now we're here at the January 28th board meeting. We're respectfully requesting for you to call for a rate hearing at the February 25th meeting, and then board to take action on those adjustments at their March 25th meeting. As Mr. Stein said, there'll be two dates that are impacted April 1st. The FY25 adjustments will go into place, and then again October 1st for the FY26. We are changing the time frame when we do rate adjustments from mid-year to beginning of the fiscal year. So we will not be back in April 1st of 2025. We will now be on an October 1, which will match up with our budget approval process, which I think will make that process be more seamless. So Victor and I are both here today to answer any questions. We do not have a big, long presentation. We already gave you the big, long presentation back in October. So there is some information in your packet, but if there were any questions today, we wanted to be here to try to answer them. If they're not, like I said, we respectfully request for the call for the rate hearing at the next board meeting. Thank you, sir.
Any discussion, please? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you. Motion passed. Okay, next item is so the managing director CEO contract. And what I'd ask the board members is if asking for your authorization for me to sit down with Vicki and discuss compensation options and then bring it back to the next board meeting for approval on that. Is there any issue with that? Okay. Any discussion at all? Okay, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And
Any
Mr. Chair,
opposed?
I just want to point out, according to the board's rules and policies, you do have your compensation review committee. So you may need to convene a special meeting to review that once you've had your discussions.
Okay, so I can still have the meeting with Vicki.
Correct.
And then we do convene a compensation?
Right. So if you look at your board's rules and policies, when you're making changes to compensation for your leadership team as well as your CEO, your compensation review committee convenes to meet to discuss to assist in reviewing the compensation.
Okay. Okay.
Got it.
So that said, though, still no, there's no issue with me talking with Vicky and then bringing the recommendation to the compensation. Okay. Got it. Thank you.
Just a question, yes, has staff, in particular the HR team, provided you with salary survey data so that you can be prepared going into the conversation on where we're at from a market perspective?
Right, exactly.
Okay.
Right, yeah. Diane did that last 2 weeks ago, I think, if I remember right. Yeah. Yeah, good
And
question.
Mr. Chair, could I make another suggestion? Because the contract is scheduled to end in April, you may want to discuss extended term, so other terms of the contract as well.
Right. Yep. Good. Thank you. Okay, for any old business or new business, I've got a few things.
Yeah, this is my last meeting, and I wanted to thank Vicky, Mr. Chair, but also want to go back when we started this journey with during COVID, when a group of us came back, and the amount of bringing this back to the serving the 2,000 employees, and give special thanks to Tom Van Ostel, Kawanza, John Baker, who has been a leader in this whole process, you, Joe, Marty Lanahan, and one of the great leaders we lost in 2021 was Leon Haley. And all we went through, and I just keep remembering, we would come to these meetings and Leon Haley and Tom would be leaving the hospital being 24/7, and the commitment they made. And it gives you a feeling of pride to be on this board, and having Arthur join, Rick join, MG join. It's a special place that's really making a difference, because as JEA grows, Jacksonville grows. So I just want to thank the 2,000 employees, the leadership, for letting me be part of this journey.
Gone on many years. This is your second full term on the board, and I've been on there for a few of these years, and I just want to thank you for your leadership and your guidance and everything you've done.
Thank you.
There's no one that I know of that has contributed more to this board and to JEA than Bobby. He works, he must never sleep. He works so hard, it takes on so much responsibility and handles it so beautifully that we're all really going to miss you personally, but we'll really miss your work ethic. Thank you.
Please.
Well, I'd like to make a motion that he can't go.
We've looked at
So
that.
moved.
Thank you, really, for the welcome that you provided, and certainly for your outstanding leadership, not only in JEA, but also you're a gem to the Jacksonville community. So thank you, very much.
As part of my chair's report, I'm going to comment on Bobby in a second, but first, again, I want to recognize last week's just amazing efforts with Ricky and the electric team on managing that superb workload and meeting the load, demands last week. I know Vicky talked about it, but that was just Herculean effort, so great job by the whole team on that. And then getting back to Bobby, so again, we all recognize your service on the board, Bobby, to JEA and the Jacksonville community. And yes, this is sad at your last board meeting, but I, on behalf of the board, want to thank you for your selfless service over the past 5 years. And again, Bobby was a board member prior before that, so he's a recidivist with the JEA board. You were integral and greatly assisted JEA's navigating through some real challenging times that we sort of alluded to. And during that time, you have demonstrated outstanding leadership as our chair, as our vice chair, the FGNA committee chair, during this current 5-year tenure. And I think we really appreciate your courage to speak candidly and help us focus on areas requiring attention. You're truly a servant leader who sincerely cares about the outstanding men and women on the JEA workforce. And I know you will brush off these compliments because you're so damn humble, but you won't be able to brush off the respect and admiration this board and a workforce has for you. So thank you again, Bobby, and Godspeed. And we're going to be giving you a legitimate farewell too, so just stand by. Okay, next board meeting will be on February 25th, and this time I'll adjourn this meeting. Thank you.